And we're live. Bob Conley here. It's time. Come on in. Pull up a chair. So this video is about distinguishing between our preferences of thinking and feeling and how we use them in decision making. And this matters because inaccurate stereotyping of thinkers and feelers by thinkers and feelers can inflict damage on relationships and impair effective communication. Oh, first, a little housekeeping. Please hit subscribe if you haven't already. And if you benefit from this video, please hit like. And finally, if you have any questions or comments, I will keep an eye on the live comments. And if you have any, please, by all means, add them to the feed. All right. So right now you might not be clear if you're a thinker or a feeler. So we'll call you a candlestick maker. That's kind of my lame attempt of coming up with a catchy title. But by the end of this video, I hope that you are clear on whether you're a thinker or a feeler, and that you feel like you've learned a few tips for how to navigate more effectively. So let's talk about feelers first. What distinguishes feelers? And again, I always give this caveat. I'm talking in generalities. I'm trying to convey things that actually, when I work with people one-on-one and in groups, we spend a ton more time on. But my aim in these videos is to just give you helpful tips that will hopefully, bring more joy, more enjoyment, less stress to your day. So, excuse me. So what distinguishes feelers? Well, they value empathy and harmony. They consider the effect they have on others and their actions have on others. More naturally like to please others, show appreciation easily. May seem over emotional or illogical to thinkers. Feelers prize tactfulness and truth. And I'll mention it now, but thinkers will typically be less concerned about tact and more concerned with just telling you what they think or what the truth is. Feelers typically value their own feelings and the feelings of others without trying to apply logic. They're motivated by a desire to be appreciated. Feelers generally come across more warmly, and they convey it pretty easily. They have a preference for the animate world, for the world of the living, whether it's humans or other animals. Feelers are typically animal lovers, very likely to have pets. So I'll tell you the names of some prominent feelers, and I think you'll start to see, because I can't not smile when I just mention these names. So Tom Cruise is a feeler. Oprah is a feeler. Tiger Woods, Kobe Bryant, Mother Teresa, Mr. Rogers is a feeler. Princess Di was. Bill Walsh, Julia Roberts, Dick Vermeil. And one of the reasons that I brought up Bill Walsh and Dick Vermeil is they are a rare breed of highly successful NFL coaches. Both Bill Walsh and Dick Vermeil won multiple. Well, Vermeil, I think, actually only won one, but Walsh won 3. So they're highly successful coaches, but the game darn near killed them. Their depth of caring was all-consuming, and Bill Walsh retired earlier than he wanted to because he was just worn out. Dick Vermeil actually left coaching and had a 15 years out of coaching, worked as an NFL announcer, color commentator, and then returned to coaching to win a Super Bowl with the then St. Louis Rams. And so the image of the feeler as being a softie can be conflated with someone who cares very deeply. And interestingly, Bill Walsh in his papers shared freely how he almost never got a coaching job because he was considered too emotional, and he turned out to be one of the greats, one of the most successful, and both coaches universally known for their warmth and caring about their players. All right, so let's talk about thinkers. Thinkers apply impersonal analysis to problems. You know, they're more likely to just be do the numbers make sense. Thinkers value logic. Thinkers see justice and fairness as a single standard for everyone with no exceptions. Thinkers will tend to spot flaws in logic or just flaws in processes and thinking. And so this also causes them to come across as critical. Um, to be honest, they can say, I mean, especially to feelers, they can seem heartless, incredibly insensitive, uncaring. As I mentioned before, they prize truth over tact. And like when comes to with dealing with feelings, they're always looking to see if they're logical. And it's not that feelings can't be logical, but feelings aren't necessarily logical. And so, um, there's an ongoing kind of tension between feelers and thinkers on that, and I'll share some other ways that this happens. But thinkers are motivated by a desire for achievement and accomplishment. And again, it's not that feelers don't have that same desire, but they're probably going to be more aware of the impact on others around them, be more sensitive to that. And then also, achievement and accomplishment takes an edge. And that edge may or may not be more pronounced or more more profound in thinkers. Um, so thinkers can also come across as a bit aloof or distant, kind of cold, cooler. Thinkers prefer the inanimate world. It's not that it's not that they don't like animals. They don't really need animals in this or they're fine without having an animal. There's a good probability the thinker is going to have plenty of tools and gadgets and be involved, a car collector, be that kind of inanimate world. So some notable thinkers are Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, Michelle Obama, Bill Belichick, Megyn Kelly, Phil Mickelson, Margaret Thatcher, Sean Hannity. And I will admit I picked those names because they're kind of known to be a salty lot. And there are dominant thinkers who aren't quite as salty, but I wanted to illustrate just that you can really, as I say that, you can see, it's like Mr. Rogers in a nice sweater, approachable as a feeler, and thinkers, the dressed to the nines, just kind of, that edge is more out there. So, a couple other just illustrations of trying to help you discern and see what the two look like. If a feeler, it's going to sound like it's the start of a joke, but it's not. If a feeler and a thinker, came across a homeless person, well, the feeler's probably going to dig into their wallet without giving it a second thought. The thinker is going to be more analyzing, like, okay, well, first of all, the thinker might just say, "Hey, get a job," would be more likely to say, "Get a job." And the thinker is also going to start analyzing, like, well, how does this happen? How did this person get to this place? And it's not going to be an immediate concern about the how the person himself is doing or his morale. It's going to be more of an analysis of the situation. So this doesn't mean that thinkers lack empathy. It's not as visible, but it's there, and it's just they're more tuned into finding out the source of problems and solving problems than conveying emotional support. Another thing, feelers generally shun conflict and are therefore seen as being less conservative, or I'm sorry, less assertive. The feelers can surprise themselves, though, at times at the level of rage they feel when they believe that their values are being violated. And feelers can hold it in for a long time, and then when the dam bursts, it shocks everyone. what can come out and what has built up. And this could be especially challenging for introverted feelers who have an innate challenge in expressing themselves to begin with. And with introverted feelers, a lot of times we'll see that when the dam breaks, it'll involve fists. There's a, I'm not I'm not saying everyone. I'm just saying there's this heightened issue. So when when we say someone is being irrational, we're actually, for the most part, we're saying they're being illogical. Because in terms of feelers, so feelers and thinkers both rationalize. And when I say rationalize, I mean justify, come to a conclusion or a decision of why they should or shouldn't do something. And so we misuse the word rational and say, oh, she's being so irrational. No, illogical. Wow, he was completely illogical in that decision. Well, interestingly, thinkers have a pretty good capacity to forget logic when they have other, like when they really want that Porsche or whatever it is. But anyway, but the feeler justifies his decisions with feeling. So they're in touch with how they feel, regardless of whatever the quantitative analysis says. And the thinker can hit them with all the data in the world, and the feeler is going to say, okay, I get it, but my feelings guide me, and therefore, this is my decision. So, in the meantime, thinkers are pretty out of touch with their feelings. They use logic. And, if you hear someone saying, does the math work? You're probably dealing with a thinker. And again, it's interesting because there's a level of, and I'll go into this in later videos, but there's emotion is what sells. And so even when thinkers think they're being, masters of logic and they've quantified it all out, there is a set of thinkers that will not necessarily abide that to the final moments. So that is a major source of conflict, is that the values versus does the math work. Another thing that feelers can just get worn out by the coolness and emotional aloofness that they feel from thinkers. And in fact, a thinker might be thinking that he's perfectly open and sharing his feelings when he's probably sharing his thoughts. All right, so what do we do? So what can thinkers do? Well, first of all, don't label feelers. The thinkers will label feelers as too soft-hearted, too emotional, bleeding hearts, muddle-headed. I mean, very negative labels. Those aren't productive, and they also aren't necessarily even accurate. So thinkers, just listen to a feeler. Just listen. Lock down your analytical reasoning, put it in some airtight compartment in your head, and just listen. Just be present to the listening. Take the time to learn the perspective of the feeler. Even if you can't see yourself putting it on yourself, those feelings, just listen. It'll actually improve your ability to access your feelings. If a feeler isn't just processing and working through something, and they really want help solving a problem, then take the time to, if logic is applicable, then take the time, but don't use it in a condescending way. Use it in a productive, hey, let's go through these steps. Let's see what makes sense. So, realize that in all likelihood, it's as challenging for a feeler to submit to logic as it is for a thinker to submit to feelings. Thinkers need to be aware of how hurtful even offhanded wisecracks can be. Feelers typically have a higher desire for harmony than thinkers do. So what might seem like a fun debate to a thinker can really wound a feeler, and you need to be aware of that. When a feeler expresses an emotion, If you don't understand it, get the dictionary out. Take the time to just understand those emotions. So it will build rapport with the individual. It will also, even though it's like you're using a thinking process, by understanding these different emotions on an intellectual level, you start to have a chance to access your own feelings and experience a broader sense of being. And, lighten up. If you've ever watched The Big Bang Theory, just picture Sheldon processing emotions and give yourself the space to do that, to just be that awkward about it, but to be committed to processing. All right, so feelers. What can feelers do? Well, again, don't label. Um, you know, thinkers aren't inhuman or stony hearted or cold hearted, remote, heartless. I'm not saying they can never act that way. But the normal thinker is not that. There's not ice water running through their veins. It's just that you can't see their emotions. They're inside. I brought those names up earlier. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton offer an interesting contrast about the way the world sees female thinkers and male thinkers. And there are negative labels that get applied to each, but both come across as harsh. But when you talk to people who know them personally, you never hear bad things. You hear about what a wonderful person they are, one on one and in person. And so, anyway, those kinds of labels in your own relationships are not helpful. Take the time to listen. Um, there there are times when just cold, clear logic can help a feeler. So feelers, be open to that. I realize most of the time that's not the issue, but at times, if you're really trying to solve a problem, be open to that. Um, Take time to help the thinker dig up her emotions. Um, they don't wear them on the sleeve. They got to dig them up. So be that person that can help them. And don't assume, if a thinker says something that hurts your feelings, don't assume that the thinker intended to hurt your feelings. And again, I'm not saying they never do intend to. That's perfectly likely, but don't make that your default assumption, that's going on. So, try to grow your appreciation for their directness. At times, it might bruise a little, but take comfort in knowing that you know where you stand. Thinkers are very direct, painfully direct. And so feelers can kind of teach themselves to go, okay, yeah, boy, I didn't enjoy that directness, but I have no doubt about what he or she thinks and where I stand. So, in summary, I just want to give you 3 points I want you to remember about each one. Thinkers should take time to appreciate and learn from the feeler's compassion, self-awareness, and warmth. Appreciate the feelers in your lives, compassion, self-awareness, and warmth. And for feelers, take time to appreciate and learn from the thinker's confidence, calm logic, and ability to shrug off rejection and criticism. I'll say it one more time. Embrace, appreciate, learn from the thinker's confidence, calm logic, and ability to shrug off rejection and criticism. So that's what I've got. Until next time, cheers.